Welcome everyone to another episode of the best podcast this side of the Mississippi. We are joined this week by Josh. Welcome to the pod.
Yeah.
And returning hosts Cam, Colin, and myself, Nick. This is your week 5 and 6 recap and week 7 preview. I can't believe we're already on to week 7 here. That's craziness. Let me bring my screen up here so we can go multimedia on our week 5 and week 6 review. All right, I'll just dive right in. So the first matchup on my screen, at least, is a big L for yours truly against Johnny. Got destroyed in the quarterback battle, which led to a trade on my part, sent Russell Wilson out the door. Eckler, despite his efforts, not able to do anything in the win department for me. Not a whole lot else to report. Gerald Everett had an unlike Gerald Everett game. Koo, after being traded for, put up 0 points and 2 good defensive performances there. Not much on the bench. Johnny had the better bench than I did in any event. Any thoughts on this matchup here?
Yeah, it was definitely a low-scoring game, but I would say it's kind of the start of the comeback for Eckler. I know he's the number one running back now, but if you look at his game log, back-to-back 30-point weeks and then 19, Eckler's back.
Yeah, definitely. He was the only player who performed. I think Olave technically got into the green. The Niners defense did okay, but other than that, not much for me to write home about. Whereas Johnny got more typical performances out of some of his guys.
Over Waddle.
True. Yeah, poor showing from Waddle, just 23 yards.
Could have smoked you even more.
And James Robinson on the downswing again, kind of seeing him return back to what people expect him to be. And Chris Olave, a little bright spot in that offense. Definitely somebody I got my eye on. I got a couple eyes on my folks on Nick's team. I want Gerald Everett very badly. So it's cool to see some folks pan out from the hot rookies.
We'll move on to another one of the hosts of this podcast taking an L, and that was Cam, defeated at the hands of Mr. Masarofo. Cam, your thoughts on your matchup here?
This is tough. I mean, T. Higgins a healthy scratch. I guess he played, but then he didn't score anything. I think this is an example of the strategy where not very successful wide receivers kind of did me in, and then Najee disappointing again. So Rob's players went off, Dalvin went off, Stephon, Pat Mahomes. That's all. I mean, those 3 alone almost beat me. So much to the dismay of Jalen Hurts. Saquon and Jalen can only take me so far. So, Rob's core guys did what my guys couldn't do.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rob's best players won the game. So the quarterbacks are a scratch. The RB2s are a scratch. The running back ones are basically the scratch, and then Diggs popped off with 20 compared to T. Higgins 0.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His tight end 1 outscored Cam's tight end 1, not by much, but that adds up. Same with Etienne versus AJ Dillon, the RB3s. Rob's best players kind of won that matchup for him.
Yeah.
Also crazy to see Taysom Hill put up 34 points on the bench. Clearly frustrated that he didn't get the opportunity to show out for his owner, and decided to show him what he was missing.
Damn.
What
was the total again? Would that have made a difference? Oh, yeah.
He would have dropped almost 169 on me. That would have been embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. You
can't have that.
All right. Well, we'll continue the theme here. Colin also picked up a loss in week 5.
Also, yeah.
Well, that was a shocker for me.
I was not predicting that.
And Eric picking up the victory. Colin, your thoughts on getting doubled up 154 to 73?
Yeah, I'm not
75.
too concerned with the scores at this point. Everyone's popping off against me, and I just can't even score more than fucking 90 or some shit. But I mean, it's the injuries again. Teddy Bridgewater, second play of the game, out for the game.
Yeah.
Nyheim Hines, second play of the game, out for the game. It's like there's not much you can do when it's just you got the injury bug. So props to Eric for scoring 154, but like anyone can beat me. Everyone can beat me. So
Yeah, I wish I could say there was help on your bench this week, but your bench combined for like 7 points when you subtract the -4 from the Chargers defense. So
yeah.
not really like you could have even done a whole lot.
No, not at all. So that's yeah.
Any other thoughts on this matchup?
This is one of those.
Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I was just gonna say this is why Eric is dangerous, right? Like his core, I don't think he has the strongest core in the league, but his, ancillary, Gabe Davis, Jeff Wilson, those guys can go off at the flex, and you're done. Drop 50 points between the two of them. So, that's why Eric is dangerous. Is when he has those flex players kind of popping off.
For sure.
I love it so far. This has been your team lost. Defend yourself. Why don't you?
Well, here we can change the script. A game that none of us were involved in. We've got Alex with a win over Mr. Wayne Cooper. Any thoughts on this matchup? You've got Hall going off for 26 points, Cup with another 22, Lockett put up 25, Kelsey with a 4 touchdown game.
So where did he? Yeah, I guess Kelsey got him, but where else did he lose here? Because there's a lot of pretty solid matchups.
Yeah, the kicker position, 10-point swing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cooper versus Samuel.
Yeah, Dobbins versus Hunt.
Yeah, okay.
My takeaway is the fact that Alex had everyone score in double digits, and that'll win you every game.
Yeah.
That's like the ideal game, is everyone can score 10 or more, and it's like impossible to lose. And that's what happened. Wayne put up 123, which is a solid effort. But when every single player has 10 or more, you don't lose those games.
Yeah, Wayne was actually projected to win this coming into the week. And then, Alex's team just absolutely had games of their lives to steal a victory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is sort of
the Lions were shut down by the Patriots and Jared Goff had nothing.
This has sort of been the story of my dad's season so far. 4-2 against the median, 2-4 head to head. He's been by far the highest points allowed this season by about 25 or 30 points. So that'll get you when you're playing teams on their best week.
Time to fire the D coordinator over there in the Mr. Cooper household. Next up, we had Jason with a win over Troy. Lower scoring affair. Neither team reached their pre-week expectations here. Good running back performances. Chubb doing well for his new owner. Adams putting up points. Really the Raiders offense, with the exception of Waller, helping Jason here.
Yeah, this one was definitely the kicker and the defense won it for Jason.
Yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good management. He isn't having the best season, but he's proven that he's a good coach with plays like that.
Yeah. And they're dangerous when the Oakland or Las Vegas offense is performing, right? Like this is kind of the tactic he chose to employ. And, if Jason does turn it around this week or this season, I'm going to look back at week 5. And beating Troy is Troy's the number 2 team in the league right now. That's no easy feat. Beating him by 22, no less. So if he turns around this season, this will be a big week if he, has to push for the playoffs.
I feel like the problem with Troy is a lot of big names, but also a lot of kind of like okay guys on bad teams. Like no shade Colin, but Damian Harris is like not really doing it this year. Like Robert Woods might pop off, but he's probably good for about 5.7. So I don't know. Those to Cam's point around about the other team, like those ancillary guys are like could do well, but I'm not gonna lie, Mike Williams, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, like he's fine. But if they don't pop off, you don't have a lot of guys that are.
Yeah. All right, Josh, you break the streak here of hosts losing in week 5 with a win over Willie. Your thoughts
Yeah.
on your victory?
I mean, is the Lamar versus Josh Allen I thought was going to be a closer battle, but I mean, Derrick Henry started getting it together in probably guess like week 3 maybe, and then Damian Pierce I was high on. I know some people said maybe I reached, but I mean, but honestly, besides those two and Josh Jacobs, my team is not that strong. Like Mike Evans isn't doing a ton all the time. Keenan Allen is dead. Like it's a real crapshoot every week. But yeah, I don't know. Guess they pulled it off over Willie. I think Willie started someone too that didn't play.
Yeah, Kyle
Yeah,
Pitts.
I mean, whatever. He'd put up a goose egg anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not super high on my team. Like if my running backs aren't there, I'm nothing. But whatever, win's a win.
I feel like you kind of have some volatile players. So like obviously they can score the 26s, the 27s, but sometimes they can also get you duds.
Yeah.
But this
everything
time,
gets-
you gotta know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started Dalton Schultz for some reasons. I feel like I should, but he has yet to, I think, put up a point.
Sounds like my tight end cohort. No, this is interesting. I mean, because I remember at the last podcast, we looked at this and we are like, all right, this is RBU versus wide receiver U, the question we've been asking ourselves all season. And RBs prevailed in this situation.
Yeah.
So just something to look back on as you move forward.
Yeah, if you told me heading into this matchup that Josh Allen was going to outscore Lamar by 20 points, I would have thought that Josh got absolutely obliterated. But despite taking a huge L at the QB position, just pretty good performances all throughout. A lot of 20 plus or near 20 in the other skill positions. So
well, and besides Willie's stars, like Tyreek, like he has a lot of kind of wide receiver 2s on their team, or 3s in the case of Tyler Boyd, and Jerry Judy's getting thrown to by Mr. Unlimited. So things are kind of, if Tyreek doesn't put up 40, like I don't know what the rest of his guys can do.
yeah, totally. So that was week 5, and then taking a look at the more recent week here, we had the Thursday night football, fantasy football matchups between Colin and myself. 88 points for me, 68 points for Colin. Total snooze fest. Basically just field goals kicked by both teams throughout the entire game. But from my perspective, Colin, it was really just a matter of one team being injured and the other team not being injured. Not like my guys really performed, but just more guys that you would expect to put up numbers who were healthy on my side.
Yeah, I mean it's the battle of the 2 worst teams in the league, I guess. So what can you expect? I mean, I'm scoring 68 points a game or some shit. So it's just like, what are we doing? I'm 1-11. It's hard for me to see any light at the end of the tunnel, especially after that kind of performance. So my only takeaway is, just trying to get some wins here, knock people off the totem pole. Like I don't care about the median anymore. I want to beat my opponent. So that's where I'm at.
You can't afford to care about the median.
Yeah.
For the record, you haven't cared about the median all year. Actually, you're the median. So.
Well, what if I told you that your third highest scorer this week may be out for the season in Marquise Hollywood Brown?
I've heard that like every other week already. Like every other week, that's what I've been told. So
further good news, your quarterback is day to day as well. So
it's just
probably for the best.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, enough said about that matchup for sure. Cam, in a real tight matchup, takes another loss here against the Chubby Chasers of Troy.
Yeah, this is definitely the closest game. 4.8 point game. That is close. But I want to say that this is kind of a statement game for the Chubby Chasers. These are the kind of games that win you championships. Championships tend to be close games, not a lot of blowouts at the end of the season. So if you can win games like this, that's going to take you far. So I think this is kind of a statement game, especially not playing a defense when you had a 14-pointer on the bench, not taking risks and still coming out with the victory.
Yeah, he sat his defense at, I think he had the Chargers and he dropped them. He didn't want to afford losing any points. So I was kind of hoping and praying for Mike Williams catch and fumble. Didn't go my way, but that the stack with the Burrow to Chase stack was huge. That's become like a cheat code in fantasy. So got the best of me in a week that I probably could have beaten Troy if that didn't happen. Rip.
Moving on, sorry, go ahead.
That was just didn't even have Sun God in, so
yeah, true. I think he had his couple Lions there were on the bye week. Not much on the bench for Troy, but managed to start the guys who got the job done.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Johnny with a big win over Eric. I didn't see this one coming into the week. Eric has been one of the more consistent teams, so to see him lay 74 points down was pretty shocking to me. Primarily Herbert and Sutton, and I guess Jeff Wilson, only with 25 yards and a lost fumble.
And Jones jumped up 5 points.
Right.
Studs did nothing.
Yeah, negative points from his defense as well, which is never a winning strategy. So tough day at the office for Eric here.
Yeah, Johnny caught probably Eric's worst game. I don't know, but 74 points got to be his worst game. So I would say, he did score 125, so that's probably right around the average score. But Eric's worst week, you'll get the win there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's worth looking into now, obviously, besides your Austin Ecklers, but not starting people who are playing in primetime games, like Justin Herbert, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. Primetime games have been notoriously bad this year. I feel like there's been one or two good ones, but they've all been horrible. And just one thing of note, Eric only dropped 75 points this week. He still is the third highest scorer in the whole league, and it's real tight at the top. Johnny, Rob, and Eric are separated by 1.5 points for highest point scorer. So this just goes to show, even with this kind of bad week by his terms, if he had scored a regular amount of points, he would be by far the highest scoring team in the league.
Yeah. He's got to take a look at his analytics department. He could have been the fourth highest scorer in the week, but left a lot of points on the bench. Kenneth Walker with 18, Ayuk with 24. I think he only had 60% of his possible points. So
would you have started those guys? I think that he started the right guys on paper.
Well, games aren't won on paper, Josh.
Yeah, you're right. That's on me.
You have to play the players who have good weeks. That's the key to fantasy.
That's true.
Got to take a hard look in the mirror there and figure out what they're doing wrong from a scouting position.
Well, I don't have much to say here. All my running backs were out, and that's on me for drafting 3 guys who had the same bye week. To be honest, at the end there, I thought I had a chance. Well, not when Joshua Kelly, the stud, went out, but Melvin Gordon didn't do anything. That's only down 8. But the third string behind Austin Eckler is not going to do anything. But you guys are all scavengers and took everyone off the waivers. Randall Cobb, I thought could do something, but he went out with that injury. Hunter Henry was sneaky good. Thought Marquez Callaway might do something. Devin Duvernay, all these guys that either had good matchups or, in the case of Callaway, had nobody else playing. So I thought he might maybe play better. Yeah, not much to say there. All my guys are just out.
Yeah, it's a tough feeling when it's a low scoring game and you still couldn't have won. There's nothing on your bench that could have helped you. So there's not much you could have done.
Even looking at even looking at the waivers, looking at the guys that did well, Would I have taken Kenyon Drake? I don't think so. I didn't know he was still in the league.
He dropped like 20 points. Yeah.
So, not much you can do there. Maybe
Yeah, with your roster, you could have only improved your score by another 2 points this week, so wouldn't even have been enough to get the job done.
the best thing that happened was the Cam Akers news that gave me a chance at Darrell Henderson. That's it, though.
All right, second to last this week, we had Willie with a big win over Wayne. Two high scoring teams here, 145 to 111. Quarterback matchup, Josh Allen performing once again. Well done in the RB1 position from them both. However, Stevenson clearly the winner over Dobbins. Tyreek back to his typical form, 12 catches for 177. And then, not many big differences throughout. Another instance of defense making a big difference here with a 12-point swing at the last position on the board.
Yeah, Willie kind of had kind of went off 145. Not crazy, but it's definitely, a high scoring game. And he's got a lot of points on his bench too. So Willie was kind of always win this matchup. It looks like solid effort by Wayne, 111. But
Yeah.
Willie's team kind of really just showed out this week.
Yeah. Same story as last week. My dad's a high scoring team, but he played a higher scoring team. See that a lot. I was really pushing to try to trade with Willie for Ramondre Stevenson before this week, and looks like the price yesterday is not the same as the price today for Ramondre Stevenson. So, I guess Damon Harris comes back this coming week, or maybe next week. But that was a good ad and a good start, because I think Willie drafted Ramondre, so good on him.
Yep. And then last but not least, Rob with the big win over Jason here as well. Pretty even at the top couple positions, but then Dalvin with a big win over Boone, who didn't provide any support. Diggs doing Diggs things, Gallup not doing Diggs things. And then, back and forth throughout the rest of the way here. Another negative defensive performance, and not a ton on the bench that could have helped Jason here.
Yeah, definitely a dud by Jason, but I think Rob's just been consistent. I think he's one of the more consistent teams, and obviously he's the number one team in the league at the moment, so that kind of makes sense. But
yeah,
it's a tough out week by week with Rob there.
But it means also Dalvin Cook was almost a dud and then had a 70-yard breakaway touchdown. So it was just not that was the main difference, but it almost wasn't the best showing by Rob either.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob has players who are kind of his main core, and then he has guys who are streaking, getting better. He has ETN, who's kind of becoming an RB1-ish in Jacksonville. Garrett Wilson is becoming a wide receiver 2 or 1 in his own right in New York. He's got bets that were paying off, in the middle of the season that he kind of took on flyers in the draft. So, that's when those pay off. He's the number one team in the league right now for a reason.
Yeah. Taysom Hill rewarded after his 30-point performance with a start, and then rewards Rob with 4.5, which I always think that's funny.
No receptions.
Right. So that's the week 5 and week 6 recap there. Now I guess we'll move on to our next segment, which is shine or shade. I'll open it to the gallery for any shines or shades that y'all want to share with the group.
I just have the one real quick. Shine or shade, the current top 8 will be the top 8 going into the playoffs.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I have I can quickly share the top 8 real quick on my screen if you guys would like to take a look at it. Okay. Yeah, we got Rob, Troy, Eric, Willie, Alex, Josh, Johnny, and Wayne, with myself, Nick, Jason, and Colin on the outside looking in.
I think I'm going to shine that. I'm going to say that is probably the 8 that make the playoffs. It feels like maybe the weakest from that group might be Josh. And he's got the he's got the lowest points scored among teams currently in playoff positions, but that roster, when you look at it among the four that are out on the outside looking in, I feel like it's a better roster than Cam, myself, Jason, or Skip. So I don't see one of us knocking someone. It would probably either be Josh or Wayne out. And I feel like those two hang on to those spots.
I agree. I don't obviously this week showed me how little faith I have in my team. The only shining light is if like Keenan Allen ever comes back. But my wide receiver department is lacking. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I definitely don't feel confident. I think I can stay in the top 8 over you bozos, but
Yeah, this week could be a big week to kind of re-solidify that bubble a little bit. We got the 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 this week, and then we have a handful of kind of 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9 kind of games. I play Johnny this week. My dad plays Jason, I believe. So there's a couple of games that could do some reshuffling here at the bubble. You look at points for here. It certainly looks like the best 8 teams are in based off the points for. But I think the head-to-head wins and losses will have a big impact on who eventually gets in over these next 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I guess I'm going to shade that just because there's a little bit too much chaos, I think, that's remains in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I thought of that specifically was because at first glance, you're like, yeah, that seems like the best 8 teams. And those 4 other teams seem like they're trending in the wrong direction, a little bit weak at the moment. But there's so much movement per week, like there's so much change and chaos per week that it's impossible to say that these are the exact same 8. Definitely not in the same order, but if those are the exact same 8, I'd be surprised. But it was just a good head scratcher for me. So I figured I'd, send it out.
Yeah, I think the against the median, or I mean the extra matchup win or loss from the median, like swings this thing every week. Like it's not just if it's just head to head, it's like I guess it makes the team a little bit closer. But with the median, it's like 8-point differential between Rob and Colin. So like I don't know, it's crazy.
I have since we have this up, I have a shine or shade that I kind of wanted to bring to light after taking a look at some of this stuff. Shine or shade, this is going to sound a little crazy, but shine or shade that Troy is an overrated team. You take a look at his points for and his points against, right? Relatively close. He's not one of the top 4 highest scorers in the league. Or I guess he might be the 4th. Sorry, he's the 6th. And if you take a look at, his defense, he's sort of in the middle of the pack in both ways, but he's the 2nd overall ranked team. Kind of a testament to maybe a couple of breakout weeks when he's played really well, and then when he hasn't played really well, he's still kind of been above the median. So is he an overrated or underrated team just looking at the stats so far? Or sorry, I should say I'm going to say shine or shade, he's overrated.
I think it depends with what you were saying about the stack with Burrow and Chase. I think that's been a real test. I mean, they weren't on it for the first 4 games of the season. So now they've started picking it up. Are they going to keep it up? I think he's really dependent on those 2.
Yeah, I would agree. I would take a little bit further than those 2. Obviously, at the pre-draft or the post-draft podcast, I said those 2 would be carrying his team. But now that he's got Nick Chubb, it's definitely he's a top-heavy team. So in that regard, I guess you could say he's overrated because he's top-heavy. But I guess at any point, those best players can really pop off and get him the win. So. And based on the metrics, yeah, I guess I would shine that he's overrated then. Fair, yeah.
I'm going to shade it. I mean, he's one of only 2 teams that's 5-1 against the median. He doesn't clearly based on the total points for and points against. It's not like he's blowing out teams or blowing out the median each week, but he's getting the job done. He's beating his opponent and he's beating the median pretty consistently. It's hard for me to say that a team is overrated when they're picking up wins at the clip he is. So,
Yeah.
Cam, your thoughts?
No, I just thought it was interesting that, he is number 2. And there's something going on here with the, median middle of the road points for and points against. I know he started off the season with a couple of bangers, really, really big dubs. I think he was 4-0 after week 2. Might have been 5-1 after week 3.
But he also had Amon-Ra going off. Like, it depends.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep going off, which he hasn't lately. Like,
yeah,
he's a lot of boomer bust guys. Like these guys that can put up these crazy numbers or just duds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just to me it seems like he does have those boomer bust guys, but he always has a couple of guys who boom regardless. So it's never like his whole team booms or busts. He's got depth in that regard. So I'm gonna shade that he's overrated. He's definitely not somebody that I want to face in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. I just had to kind of skate by. I lost to him this past week. I don't want to play him again.
I barely squeaked out a win over him. And
yeah. Cool.
I've got 2 shines or shades here. The first one, we've seen an uptick in the number of trades completed in recent weeks, largely due to the wheeling and dealing of Mr. Colin Hampton. Over or under 0.5, so shine or shade, there will be at least 1 trade completed this week. Another way of saying that, over under 0.5 trades completed this week.
Absolutely. 100%. There will be a trade.
Colin's gonna be making them.
So there's my answer.
Okay.
I mean, I should. I'm just too scared. I know Cam would give me special things for Josh Jacobs, but
there's a ton of trade activity, it seems like, going on. I feel like I hear about people sending off 4 or 5 trades to 4 or 5 different players, or different teams, I should say. I know that I've sent, offers to all 3 of you guys each at some point over the past couple of weeks. I think that it's, unlikely that there's not going to be a trade with so many folks who are thinking about it. It's been interesting that there's been way more trade activity this year than there has been in the history of the league. I would say there's been more trades going on than.
Well, there was that one year. I don't know which year it was, but I made a trade with every single team in the league except Alex. And I don't know if I'm gonna do that this year, but I'm gonna try.
Still forget about Alex.
And then my last shine or shade here for you. Last week we saw 46 fab dollars spent across 10 transactions. Shine or shade, you could take it either way: more fab spent or more transactions completed on the waiver wire. Are you shining?
Quick, are you keeping track of that? Can you see each number each week? Like, have you made that yet?
I haven't gone back to weeks before week 6, but right now I'm looking at week 6. So I led the way with 11 spent on Alec Pierce. Jason spent 8 on Jimmy Garoppolo. He also spent another 8 on Tanyan. Wayne spent 6 on DJ Dallas. Josh spent 4 on Samaje Perine. He spent another 4 on Josh Kelly. He spent another 2 on Brandon McManus. We got AJ Green. AJ Green in the $1 bucket for Alex. Troy with $1 on the Patriots defense, and Cam with $1 on the Ravens defense. So that's 46 over 10 transactions. Shine or shade, more fab and or more transactions this week.
I would say more fab, maybe not more transactions.
Yep.
But I am curious to see each week the number of transactions and the amount, and then compare them, like go to see the weeks. Because like 46 doesn't sound like a lot compared to the first couple weeks where one guy was $25. So I just want to see how that trend's going. I don't know if we can pull that.
That will be my homework for the next episode. I will go back and do an analysis on fab spent over the week.
But it only lets you go back a week. Like I try to do the same thing. I try to look at last week's acquisitions, and it only lets you go back a week apparently. Oh no, never mind. Never mind. I'm back. Here we go. I see it now.
I think that as the season goes on, and first of all, like players become more valuable and FAB becomes less valuable to spend, we're going to see higher spends. Like Nick mentioned a couple weeks ago, that the FAB inflation is going to increase, I think, and we're going to see more teams get desperate to pick up guys and blow their money because we get closer and closer to playoff time. So we're going to see higher. We might not see as much transaction volume, but definitely FAB volume.
I mean, right off the bat, the top guy who's trending right now is Kenyon Drake. What over under fucking 30 FAB for him? Like what do we put? What's his price right now? It's
Is it high? I mean, I'm not gonna bet on Kenyon Drake.
Well, there you go.
We're down to 11 of us now.
Maybe
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I would say it's pretty high. Dobbins looks hurt or just not capable of kind of finding his groove. And
I mean, you also have Gus Edwards coming back.
Yeah, I mean, Kenyon has proven that he's talented. So, and same thing with Latavius Murray. I got him for free last week. I dropped him.
Yeah,
he might be the lead guy in Denver. So,
I mean, but that's how did you manage that? Like, how'd you know?
I had to pick one of the shitty running backs to drop, and I picked that one. So, that's how it works.
Well, we all know that if Colin had kept him rostered, that he would have gone down with an ACL tear last night. So,
I mean, I'm saving him at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious to see how FAB continues to develop over the weeks, especially now that we're in bye weeks. I feel like you're gonna not only have injury pickups and drops, but are people gonna say, oh well, it's not worth it for me if I've got to lose this guy for a week?
I'm curious to see how expensive defenses get later on in the year when there's like a prime matchup where like there's an average defense against the worst team in the league. How much are people going to spend on a 1 week defense?
Yeah.
We see Eric's $9 spend on the Steelers defense round 2.
Does he still have them? Let's see.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he dropped them.
He dropped them.
There you go. Oh no, he still has them. That's crazy.
He picked them up after TJ Watt got hurt for 8 weeks. Bottom.
Any other shines or shades from folks?
I have one. It's more of like an over under. I'm gonna say, okay, I'll turn it into a shine or shade. Shine or shade. We're gonna see 3 upsets this week based off of the rankings for current week 6 rankings.
Here, let me.
You think Colin's gonna upset Josh?
I'm sharing the current matchups here, so you can see the current standings, and obviously not everyone has set their lineups yet, but current win projections.
I mean,
I could see some upsets. I definitely like the observation you made earlier in the week, Cam, about the faux playoff matchup, the 1 versus 4 and 3 versus 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Those could be 2 upsets right off the bat because those are the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Any one of those 4 teams can have the biggest week. I even have it as a note that like we could see some fireworks this week because we have the 4 best team. We have the college football playoff in our backyard right here. So definitely could see some fireworks, and usually fireworks means maybe some upsets.
Yeah. I see a couple of games here that are sort of becoming must wins for some of these folks outside the bubble. Like I'm sure Nick would love to get a win over Alex this week. This is a must win game for me versus Johnny 3, I would say. And then Eric is technically an underdog to Troy. I think that's one that we could see an upset potentially happen too. So I'm gonna shine that there's 3 upsets this week.
I agree. I'll shine that as well. I think Willie against Rob, depending on what they do with bye weeks and the like, could be a close one. You could see Willie pulling one out there. We've talked about the boomer bust nature of Rob's team. Who knows what Skip does between wheeling and dealing and trades and FAB. He could put a squad together. We'll see. Maybe this is the week where he takes someone down and beats the median. Yeah, and Cam, as you mentioned, technically favored right now over Johnny. I'm technically favored over Alex. I think you could see it. You could see 3.
Yeah, I think since we're kind of already like doing the preview of next week, I might as well mention this. There's 3 games where both the teams could have the same record after the game. And so right there could be your 3 upsets. So Rob and Willie, let's see here. If Willie wins again, the matchup and the median, they'll have the same record.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Wayne and Jason. They'll have the same record if Jason pulls off the upset. And then Troy and Eric.
Yep.
If Eric pulls off the upset, they'll have the same record. I love seeing that kind of stuff, because then if that's the case, we're gonna continue to see the parity, the competition, the chaos, the what's gonna happen next. The intrigue of the league is gonna stay as each week as we get to the building point. That's what I love to see. It's tough that I'm not part of it. But
you could play spoiler. You could play spoiler.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's definitely my mission now, is to knock some people off their perches.
You never know, Colin. If you just start
trying.
You start praying to God.
Realistically, mathematically, I can still finish above above whatever it's called.
300.
Above 500. I could be 13-11 if I make it happen. So there's hope, but there's not a lot of it.
Colin is like the Missouri of this league. He can play somebody tough. He can pull off an upset. He could ruin someone's season with a big win there.
He did it once.
Yeah. This is a big week. I mean, it's pretty much, if you look at the standings and just the way the league's shaken out the first 6 weeks, it's pretty much Rob and Troy, and then the rest of the league. I mean, seeds 3 through 8 are separated by 1 game, and 3 through 9 are separated by 2 games. So, this could be the week where we see the league return to parity a little bit, with more chaos. And I think the league tends to go towards chaos. So I think we're going to see that.
We literally implemented a rule so that we know what the median is we implemented it so that it would be chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's I don't know if this is how Shine or Shade works. This may be a different thing, but I've been doing too much sports gambling. Where do you think, I feel like there's a lot of, as far as individual or teams in the NFL, I feel like there's a lot of kind of lopsided matchups. I could be wrong, but I feel like the median could be high this week. I feel like we might be reaching a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I would agree, because that plays into my statement about there being fireworks. If there's a lot of teams that are scoring a lot of points, that median could hit that 130 that we talked about in week 2 or whatever. The highest still is the 122.
Yep. And we're due for one. We had the lowest median of the year this past week. We're due for kind of players to pop off a little bit.
94 and 105 in the past weeks. So I'm ready for a 130 bomb median if it happens.
I feel like if Thursday Night Football actually something happens, I feel like that'll be an omen for the rest of the
Saints Cardinals could be a good game. It could they're actually decent teams, but it could be a good game.
DeAndre Hopkins back. Who has him?
That's what I'm saying.
Johnny 3.
I will shine that we have a high median this week, particularly because the 4 teams on their buys this week are the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, and the Eagles. So those are 4 teams that tend to put up points in fantasy. Obviously the Bills are just like a machine when it comes to fantasy. And the Vikings have some guys like Dalvin, and Kirk Cousins has been performing well. The Eagles, I mean, how many times has Cam been saved by his QB there in Philly? So there's a lot of teams that players will be missing, and their coaches will have wished that they had them available in week 7.
Oh, so you're saying you don't think it's gonna be a high median?
I don't think it will be a high median because I think we will be missing a lot of guys who usually put up performances for us.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
that's a good point. Yep.
I guess that was kind of like this past week. Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone else felt the buys like I did, but like it was a relatively low median with like the first week of like a lot of buys. So
Yeah.
could be right there.
Yeah. We shall see. All right, on to free agency and waiver wires, trades. Any thoughts on any of the player movement that we saw in the last couple weeks?
I think the big trade between you and me, Nico, that was kind of a desperation kind of thing. As soon as I pulled the trigger and it went through, I was like, shit, I just gave up Jonathan Taylor. But I was running out of pieces. I was running out of things to do. So I just kind of had to do something. I might have been able to get a better package than Swift and Michael Carter for Jonathan Taylor, because that's kind of how I see it. But I pulled the trigger. I'm glad I was able to get some of these pieces. I feel like I can make some more movement happen. But something something had to give, and I ended up thinking that this could, work out positively for each of us.
Mhm. Yeah.
To me, this felt like another trade where both teams accomplished what they needed to.
Yep.
I feel like you needed just more guys that you could put in, and it obviously helped that I was playing you this week, and so you couldn't use Swift or Cooks against me, which was very fortunate for me. They were both on their bye this week. But you got 4 guys that you could plug into your lineup in any given week. I got 3, although I felt like if I looked at position by position, I was happy with the trades that I was making. Although I was giving up a rosterable guy in a sense. So I felt like it was a B+ trade for both of us where we both accomplished goals.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Great, I'd say.
Yep. I was going to say the same thing. I think Colin got what he needed with some more depth. Nick got, a star player and, moved some pieces around. I think that both teams accomplished different goals, and it was a successful trade for that in that regard.
Do you think Jonathan Taylor's value went down at all this week with what's his name?
Deion Jackson.
Yeah, Deion Jackson.
Well, he just got hurt too. So
Oh, he did. Oh,
yeah.
well,
And also, even if Deion Jackson wasn't hurt, Jonathan Taylor's too much of the bell cow for like Deion Jackson would not have taken his job.
I don't think he took his job, but I thought like after last year they were like, we can't do that every game.
Oh yeah.
So if they found someone who was like, Nyheim Hines is not the guy, so they found someone that was like a decent backup, I feel like they could have balanced it out a little bit there.
Yeah,
I think that's possible. To me, it was. I also think his value might have been helped by the fact that Indy finally looks like they can throw the ball, and maybe that takes a defender out of the box for Jonathan Taylor when he comes back.
Sure.
Plus, on the flip side, I felt like I was giving up Swift to. I mean, while he's been out, his backup, who I still have, Williams, has shown that he can be the guy. I mean, he was already getting some goal line touches, and he had in one of his 2 games a really strong performance. So Swift might lose some touches too, if Taylor does as well. So Taylor's probably not the number 1 overall pick if you redid our fantasy draft right now, but I still felt like decent value for what I was giving up.
No, I think it's a good trade, and I love Brandon Cooks. I think he has a lot of value too. So like, I think it was a good trade.
I heard that. All right, noted.
Anything else? We've got the other free agency movement, the waiver wire from last week up here.
I love the Pierce ad. Oh, sorry, I love the Alec Pierce ad. I wanted him.
Yeah.
I thought that him playing on Thursday night would have made people forget a little bit by the end of the waiver period that he was still available. I didn't think he was going to go for 11. And based off this past week, he might be well worth that $11. So even though you paid $10 more than the next person, doesn't necessarily mean that it was an overpay, right? Like
so after that Thursday night game, I submitted a bid for $5, and as the weekend wore on, I kept increasing it by 1 until it finally stopped at 11. And then I just told myself, if I didn't get him for $11, then I was going to let him go. But I felt like at 8, maybe I should stop. And then I kept talking myself into $1 more, the more that I read about like waiver wire ads for the week and stuff. So I was happy that he performed this week, but also really pissed when I saw that I could have gotten him for $10 less than I paid. Any
Were there
other
any,
thoughts on free agency?
were there any
et
other
cetera?
trades, or there no other trades this past 2 weeks?
I traded with Troy.
Was that this?
Definitely worked out.
Was that 2 weeks ago? When was that one?
No, Troy was more recent. It was on it was 4 days ago. It was I got Damian Harris and Hunter Renfroe, and he
Yes.
got
Oh,
Elijah
yeah.
Mitchell.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Maybe it hasn't worked out just yet, but I very much am happy with how that worked out. Because I got players who didn't play this particular week, but at least I'll have them going forward.
Yeah.
And Elijah Mitchell, he's just kind of stashing, which is smart for him because, you know, as we said, he could be an overrated team. So having another running back of his caliber could definitely help him out going down the road here. And it's, you know, it's a Patriot. So I finally have a Patriot on my team this year. So that feels kind of good. I'm happy with the trade. I don't really, you know, I'm not sure how much it changes things at the moment, but definitely like it, you know, happy with it.
I like that trade. Colin, as you know, I was in talks with you about Elijah Mitchell this past week, and as part of another trade, but I like the strategy. I think, you know, the stash and kind of buying low on Elijah Mitchell is a good buy. And I was also talking to Troy about Damian Harris before he got traded as well. So I think it's 2 good buy low situations, especially with Ramondre kind of going off. I think Damian Harris is poised to make a pretty good comeback for the value that you got him for. So, and again, you know, a strategy where both teams kind of won with their respective strategy.
All right. If anyone's got other thoughts on free agency business, waiver wire, et cetera, throw it out there. Otherwise, we can just go matchup by matchup quickly.
I just get
for week 7.
PTSD looking at my free agency pickups due to my bye week. It's fine though. It's fine.
I have
I
a quick little segment just because Josh, our Riverboat Gambler, is on the show. I have 3 little Bears takes that I wanted to get your opinion on. So this first one, if we look at this coming week, right now it's Eric plus 12 against Troy. I know there's not a I believe the lineups are pretty much set though.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're pretty much set. So are you taking Eric in the points, or are you taking Troy?
To me, it like kind of seems like a lot rides on. We go back up to the top for a sec. Like Aaron Jones has been, I mean, he's had some crazy games, but he's also been spotty. I mean, he had 9 carries this last week. I didn't watch the game. I don't know if anything happened, but it seemed like they were just chucking. I don't necessarily believe in Benjamin on Troy's lineup, but just looking at these, I'd probably take Troy minus 12. He just has a lot more heavy hitters than Eric does.
I think I'm taking Troy too.
Like Ayuk obviously went off, but like, is he gonna do it again? I don't know. Cortland Sutton, he's like a game or 2 away from warming my bench, depending on how Russell Wilson plays. I like Fournette. Hawkinson, like, I don't know, he put up whatever 180 yards one game, but like I don't think he's gonna do that again.
He's got Kenneth Walker on his flex. I think he's playing like a man possessed right now. That could be a factor in the game.
I know. Yeah. I mean, you never know. I think Jeff Wilson is usually good for 10 to 15. I think Kenneth Walker is probably good for 10 to 15, maybe even 20. But I think Troy has him.
Okay.
I will take Eric plus the 12. And my one of my thoughts here is, every point that Mike Williams provides to Troy is also providing points to Eric this week. So obviously Herbert's got a lot of toys besides Mike Williams, and maybe it comes down to what kind of target share does Mike Williams get in that Chargers game, and if he's running all over the field and putting up touchdowns against Seattle, then maybe that helps Troy up or win by more than 12. But if Herbert's finding his other toys like he was in this past week, then that might be the difference in this matchup.
Yeah, and not to toot my own horn, but it does depend if Keenan Allen comes back. I think. Yes, or sort of like it. If Keenan Allen comes back, like obviously that's another weapon for Justin Herbert. But yesterday, is that Monday? Yeah, yesterday's game, Mike Williams was getting like coattailed by Patrick Surtain, and like maybe he wouldn't be the main focus anymore if Keenan Allen's back defensively. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Next, I have DeAndre Swift in his first game back from bye/injury, over under 13 points this week for DeAndre Swift. I think he's projected 13.6. Yeah. Against Dallas defense that sort of bottled up Miles Sanders this past week.
I'd say under. I'm not a Swift believer, so like that's maybe, I don't know. I think Jamal Williams, I think they're going to balance it out a lot more. I think it's very dependent on if Swift, he'll get like a couple breakaway runs, which is where he gets a lot of his points from, whereas Jamal Williams kind of vultures the touchdowns. So I could see them both getting 10. But yeah, I think Swift,
I'm going to go under as I'm going to go under as well. Both times when he's scored above 13 this week so far this season, he's put up a touchdown as part of that 13. And the Dallas run defense has been pretty stout throughout the season. So, first week back, a lot of toys in Detroit. I could see him not scoring a touchdown this week. If he doesn't score, hard to see how he gets over 13 points.
Yeah.
I'm going to think with some positivity here and just say the over because I fucking need him to.
Oops, sorry, Colin. I forgot he was on your team.
It's okay. It was, so.
Gotcha. And then the last one I have is what bet would you rather take? Jason money line this week or Willie +6?
Jason money line. Or
I know that the rosters aren't filled out yet, but just taking a look at the teams that they're playing, Rob, it has some major holes at running back this week. A lot of folks on bye.
Who is Jason playing? Wait,
I'll take Jason.
Who is
money line?
Jason's playing Wayne.
Wait, will you put that up again?
Yeah. This is Willie against Rob, and neither one of them has set their lineup yet.
Got it.
Although if you look on their bench, they've got some guys. It seems like Willie might have more guys on his bench this week potentially.
Can I see Jason?
Yep.
He's you said Willie +6?
Willie +6 or Jason money line?
I think Willie +6. I don't know. That's hard. I don't like either.
I'll take Jason because he's got his whole Raiders stack back.
Yeah.
Wayne doesn't have Cooper Kupp, so that's 20 points right there. You're not getting. Definitely take Jason with this upset / money line. I think Rob has enough to kind of hold him off.
Is Jason starting Mike Boone? I would say I feel like Jason pays more attention to like his lineup. I think Willie occasionally gets someone starting who is not playing. So like it doesn't help his case. So I guess I'll go with Colin. Jason money line.
Yeah, I think so
Gotcha.
too. I feel like Wayne's just gotten, he's hit more by the bye week, this week.
Mhm. Cool. That's it. Those are the three bet related questions.
Tough
I like
ones.
that.
We kind of made it through most of our week 7 preview by doing that. We can just touch on the other matchups for week 7 that we hadn't talked about yet in the course of those. One of them being myself against Alex here. New quarterback for me this week. Dak Prescott makes his debut. Let's see, maybe Taylor comes back as well. He could make his debut for the roster. Up against Mixon, up against Hunt, Lockett, Kelsey against Everett. Olave might be back from injury. Zeke, who I'm always scared to play. And then, he's got to replace a kicker in a defense here as well. Any predictions or thoughts on this matchup?
He's got a backup kicker, so he's good there somehow. Got one lined up for him already. You got a bunch of outs on your team, so that's never, confidence filling.
Yeah.
But you definitely have a strong lineup potential.
Yeah.
And definitely think, again, here we go. I think there could be some fireworks this week. I think we could see high scoring matchups. And so this is definitely one of those matchups that could have that high scoring.
Yeah. Your wide receiver 2 down to your kicker is one of the most dangerous sets of 5 in the league. I think right now, in terms of my preference, I love Alec Pierce playing well. Even though people aren't big fans of Zeke, he's getting like 10 to 15 carries a week. The volume's there. He's going to score. I love Gerald Everett. I've said it 1,000 times. Chris Olave, I think he's going to have another breakout game in the dome. I like Nick. I think Nick, now that I look at his roster, a couple moves he's made, he's going to be dangerous coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I think the only ones on the opposite team, like Tyler Lockett's been hot. Amari Cooper's been kind of hot. I think it'll be a pretty good matchup, honestly.
I'm always scared of Kelsey. Kelsey could put up, like we've seen, 4 touchdowns in a game. If he goes off, I might be in trouble. But if San Francisco can keep him in check for me,
I think
that might be different.
It might get squeezed a little by San Francisco.
Yeah, one can only hope, considering I'm playing their defense. All right. I don't think we talked about Cam, your matchup against Johnny. We've got Geno Smith currently holding down the starting quarterback spot for the Fighting Cams.
He kind of cooled off a little bit last week. I kind of need him to come back. Hopefully that Seattle Chargers game is a bit of a shootout, and he can throw for a light 350. I said this all year. I need my receivers to step up, man. I don't really have a true wide receiver 1. T. Higgins has the ability to. Drake London is disappointed. T. Higgins, if he's healthy, he can do it, but I don't know if I love it. Jacoby Myers has an opportunity to score in Chicago, and AJ Dillon has been another disappointment. I need him to get more opportunities. He's an efficient guy when he gets the ball, but he doesn't get a lot of opportunities in that offense, especially when you're playing bad teams for some reason. So if I can get AJ Dillon and T. Higgins to do what they're supposed to do, it'll be a good week.
I hear what you're saying, but I like Johnny's team, even though he does not have a quarterback.
That's what I was just checking. I was looking at his bench to see if he's got a QB, and he doesn't.
And his tight end department is also lacking. But just Johnny's, I like Johnny's team for this matchup. I think Godwin, Waddle, Pittman, Lamb, McCaffrey, like they're gonna do what they do, and it's gonna be tough to beat. I think Johnny could have one of these games where everyone scores double digits.
I'll take Cam in this. Johnny's got to replace, as we just talked about, a QB and a tight end still. This could be another interesting one where if he drops players, I'm curious to see which of these guys becomes available, because they might all be guys that would be of interest. Not a lot of droppable guys on his roster at the moment.
Here's a trade candidate.
No doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
I know. I feel like I hadn't really looked at his lineup before, and I'm like, huh. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
No, I don't know if I'm high on Brian Robinson yet. Still a gunshot victim.
It still is.
Good.
That ain't changing.
I think he has potential. I don't know. I mean, I like that he's projected 8 points. That seems like a pretty reasonable amount.
Yeah, as the Antonio Gibson owner in our league, I'll be hoping that there's an infection in one of those wounds or something that sidelines him.
I did not know he went to Alabama. What the heck?
Yeah, he was the backup to like every great running back that Alabama's had over the last few years.
Yeah.
So
He's 23. I didn't realize.
All right. Now keep me honest. Which of these other matchups have we not touched on? I don't think we touched on Skip
Colin
versus
versus
Josh,
Josh.
did we?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. Thoughts, boys?
yeah, I mean, still a lot of question marks with Swift, Harris, Wilson on my team. There's definitely moves to be made, whether it's at 3 a.m. in a couple hours here or whether it's trades before Thursday. So who knows? But obviously, I'm going to think my team can pull it off, even though the projection doesn't say so. Looking at each matchup too, like Lamar Jackson definitely is better, is going better than Russell. Derrick Henry, like it's tough to see on paper some hope for me, but that doesn't mean it's all gone. I mean, his whole bench is out too, so he's kind of got his lineup in.
Yeah, the only move I have to make is I think my defense. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not like it depends. Like Keenan Allen still might not play, and I have him in my starting lineup right now. So if that's the case, like I'm gonna have to sub in one of the rejects on my bench or pick up someone. I mean, I don't know. I think I have you running back wise, depending on how if Swift plays. But everyone else could be a crapshoot. I think Cooks and Metcalf. I think Hurst sometimes balls. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've seen a couple of games over the past 2 weeks where Lamar's kind of been a non-factor for Josh, and he's kind of picked it up elsewhere. I think this is a week where, if Lamar balls, like that could be the X factor, especially with the way we've seen Russ play. I know Russ has it in him, but Lamar could be the guy who puts Josh over the edge. Aside from the running backs, if they do their thing, but Lamar's a guy I'm keeping my eye on because he hasn't really been doing Lamar things the last 2 weeks, but I think he could be due to blow up this week.
Yeah, my take is if Colin can find a way to win the quarterback position, he's got a chance this week.
Mhm.
But if he doesn't pull it out there, it's hard to find the matchups throughout the remainder of the matchup here where he's going to find enough points.
I'm looking real quick here. Last year, Lamar had 9 points against Cleveland at home, and then when they were in Cleveland, he only scored 1 point, and I guess he got hurt the rest of the season. So it doesn't seem like Lamar has great games against Cleveland. That's a positive point for me to look at.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I could have looked earlier, but definitely last year's relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's the stats on the Ravens losses have been crazy. Even this week, like what overall they've been losing for probably 3 minutes this whole year.
Yeah.
And they are like what even or are they 3-3 right now?
3-3, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other closing remarks?
There's one thing that I wanted to quickly share, and I highlighted these two teams when we were looking at the standings before. Just the teams that are the two biggest variances between their head-to-head wins and against the median wins. I have my dad 4-2 against the median, 2-4 head-to-head, and then Nick is 3-3 head-to-head, but 1-5 against the median. I guess Nick, did you just kind of want to touch on that experience so far? Having this new median and kind of what do you make of these two differences in teams, differences in what's going on in the season for both teams?
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a year for me. I feel like my matchups are usually pretty close, and then I seemingly am normally 1 or 2 spots beneath the median. Like this past week, I needed like another long Eckler touchdown to like surpass Cam and take over the 5th spot above the median, and it just didn't happen for me. But so like that tells the story. I have the fewest points allowed. We're playing great D. We're possessing the ball and keeping the opponent's offense off the field. But it's not turning into wins in that medium column. The rest of the league is just playing more exciting football than I am at the moment.
Well put. Well said.
Well, good observation.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Cool.
I feel like I've made some moves where we might be able to make something happen, but I'm on the outside looking in, so kind of in desperation mode at this point.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Me too. Actually, I'm right there. So we're 3 desperate boys right now. Cool. Thank you.
Anything else, or shall we call this a wrap?
I'll just continue what I said last week. Like, send me anything. I'm an open book. Whatever you got, I will counter. Like, I will. We will go back and forth 1,000 times if we have to. I will counter every time. Or
you remind me of like those car dealerships that say like bad credit, no credit, you can get a car.
Yeah. That is me. That is 100% me. So
no trades declined. There will be a counter offer. That's funny. All right. Well, thanks, Josh, for your appearance.
No, thanks for having me. Sorry if I
huge
didn't
boost.
the statistical backing to really,
Go with your gut, baby.
follow my heart. That's what I do every week.
We will see you in 2 weeks' time, everyone.